Hamas says it's studying Gaza ceasefire proposal, but appears to rule out key provisions. The U.S. didn't just avoid a recession, it's adding hundreds of thousands of new jobs. Fani Willis acknowledges a personal relationship with prosecutor she hired in Trump's Georgia case. Today is Saturday, February 3rd, 2024, and this is the Dunkley Report. Hamas officials say the group is studying a proposed ceasefire deal that would include prolonged pauses in fighting in Gaza and swaps of Israeli hostages for Palestinian prisoners. But the militants appeared to rule out some key components. A senior Hamas official in Beirut said the group remains committed to its initial demands for a permanent ceasefire. The official also said the group seeks the release of thousands of Palestinian security prisoners, including those serving life sentences. He mentioned two by name, including Marwan Barghouti. Barghouti is a popular Palestinian uprising leader, seen as a unifying figure. The comments on the prisoners were the most detailed demands yet raised by the group in public. The nation's employers delivered a stunning burst of hiring to begin 2024, adding 353,000 jobs in January, in the latest sign of the economy's continuing ability to shrug off the highest interest rates in 2 decades. Last month's job gain, roughly twice what economists had predicted, topped the December gain of 333,000. A figure that was itself revised sharply higher. The unemployment rate stayed at 3.7%, just above a half-century low. Wages rose unexpectedly fast in January, too. The latest gains showcased employers' willingness to keep hiring to meet steady consumer spending. It comes as the intensifying presidential campaign is pivoting in no small part on views of President Joe Biden's economic stewardship. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis, in a court filing, has acknowledged having a personal relationship with a special prosecutor she hired for the Georgia election interference case against former President Donald Trump. But Friday's court filing argues there are no grounds to dismiss the case or to remove Willis from the prosecution. Willis hired special prosecutor Nathan Wade in November 2021 to assist her investigation into whether Trump and others broke any laws as they tried to overturn the Republicans' loss in the 2020 presidential election in Georgia. An attorney for a Trump co-defendant has argued the case should be dismissed due to allegations of their relationship. The U.S. military has launched an air assault on dozens of sites in Iraq and Syria used by Iranian-backed militias and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. It is the opening salvo of retaliation for the drone strike that killed 3 U.S. troops in Jordan last weekend. The massive barrage of strikes hit more than 85 targets at 7 locations, including command and control headquarters, intelligence centers, rockets and missiles, drone and ammunition storage sites, and other facilities. President Joe Biden says the strikes demonstrate to all those who might seek to do us harm that if you harm an American, we will respond. Almost immediately after Joe Biden walked into the Oval Office on his first day as president, he began rolling back his predecessor's immigration policies, which he'd assailed throughout the 2020 campaign as inhumane. A lot has changed in 3 years. Biden now sounds increasingly like ex-President Donald Trump, pressing Congress for asylum restrictions that would have been unthinkable when he took office. Biden is doing it under pressure, not just from Republicans, but from fellow Democrats, including elected officials in cities thousands of miles from the U.S.-Mexico border, who are feeling the effects of asylum seekers arriving in record numbers. The influx has strained social services in cities, including New York, Chicago, and Denver. A truck loaded with liquid petroleum gas cylinders has exploded in a depot and set off a late-night inferno that burned homes and warehouses in Kenya's capital. At least 3 people died and 280 were injured. 24 people were in critical condition. A government spokesman said Friday that a lot of people were home when the fire reached their houses in a Nairobi neighborhood late Thursday. The spokesman said the injured were rushed to several hospitals to be treated. Firefighters were searching the burned area later in the morning, while a regulatory body said the gas depot didn't have permits to operate in the area. Nikki Haley's path to the Republican presidential nomination is rapidly shrinking. But Haley vows to stay in the race indefinitely. And the harder Haley fights, the more Republican officials fear she may hurt Donald Trump's long-term prospects in the all but certain general election against Democratic President Joe Biden. Trump allies describe Haley's continued presence as a distraction, a drain on resources, and a source of frustration. They also worry Trump's preoccupation with Haley and his frequently calling her bird brain might further alienate moderate voters and suburban women. In practical terms, the Republican Party's 2024 presidential primary season has barely begun. But after decisive wins in Iowa and New Hampshire, Trump's grip on the nomination has never been stronger. Much of Alaska has plunged into a deep freeze, with temperatures colder than -40 degrees Fahrenheit in recent days in some places. Anchorage is seeing some of its coldest temperatures in years, and the mayor of the state's largest city has opened warming facilities for people who are homeless or don't have reliable heating. The extreme cold in some places has caused heating fuel to thicken, affecting heating systems, and the roofs of at least 2 businesses in Anchorage collapsed under the weight of the snow. To the south, the state capital of Juneau set a new January snowfall record of 6.4 feet. Punxsutawney Phil has forecasted an early spring from the largest and best-known Groundhog Day celebration in the United States at an overcast Gobbler's Knob in western Pennsylvania. The annual event was held shortly after sunrise on Friday. It's a tongue-in-cheek ritual in which Phil's handlers reveal whether the groundhog has seen his shadow. This year, they say the rodent did not see his shadow, and that will usher in early spring-like weather. They say when he does see his shadow, that presages 6 more weeks of winter. Phil predicts more winter far more often than he sees an early spring. A federal agency took a look at his record last year and put his accuracy rate at about 40%. Las Vegas Raiders owner Mark Davis called his new home the Death Star in 2020, and the name stuck. Allegiant Stadium, with its black facade, indeed resembles the ominous space station in the Star Wars movie series that was capable of destroying planets. That's where the Super Bowl will be played on February 11th. The NFL is following its recent practice of awarding new stadiums with its marquee game. The stadium has some features that sets it apart from most others around the league. Today's news was reported by the Associated Press. This has been the international news for Saturday, February 3rd, 2024. Thanks again for joining us here at the Dunkley Report.